Eleanor used to walk everywhere. The post office, the church, the tiny corner market 2 blocks down. She knew every crack in the sidewalk by heart, every hedge that bloomed first in spring. Walking was her joy, her rhythm, her quiet rebellion against age. But now, at 74, she had to think twice before standing up. It began with small things: a stumble near the mailbox, a hesitation on the stairs. Then came the night she nearly fell trying to get to the bathroom. Her legs had buckled beneath her, unannounced, like a betrayal. She sat on the floor for 15 long minutes, stunned. Not just by the weakness, but by the sudden realization that she was afraid. Afraid of walking, afraid of falling, afraid of what might come next. A week later, at her routine checkup, her doctor gently leaned in. "Eleanor," he said, "your balance issues aren't just about age. Your muscle strength is declining, especially in your legs." She nodded. She'd felt it too. The way chairs seemed lower now, how her knees quivered when rising, how her ankles ached after the simplest steps. "But I have good news," the doctor continued. "It's not too late. Muscles can rebuild even now, but we need to support them properly." Eleanor expected a prescription, maybe some fancy cream or a new device. Instead, he handed her a list. At the top, in big letters, were the words, "Vitamins and minerals that strengthen aging legs." That night, Eleanor sat at her kitchen table staring at the list. Vitamin D, vitamin B12, vitamin C, vitamin E, calcium, magnesium, potassium. None of them sounded dramatic. They were simple, familiar, even ordinary. But as she began to read, she realized each one had a purpose, a role, a reason. Vitamin D, to absorb calcium and feed the bones. B12 for nerves and balance. Vitamin C and E to protect and repair muscles. Calcium to keep the frame strong. Magnesium and potassium to help muscles fire and relax correctly. Together, they weren't just nutrients, they were building blocks of movement. Eleanor opened her fridge. It was mostly condiments, diet soda, and a leftover takeout box. She opened her pantry. Crackers, instant soup, canned peaches and syrup. She sighed. No wonder her legs were quitting. She'd been feeding them like afterthoughts. But now she had a reason, one she hadn't had in a long time. She didn't want to win marathons. She just wanted to walk to the park, to water her flowers without sitting, to climb the church steps without fear, to dance at her granddaughter's wedding next spring. It wasn't vanity, it was freedom. And if food could give that back to her, then she would begin. That same night, she wrote in her journal for the first time in months, "I'm not just old, I'm low on the things my body still needs. I'm not broken, I'm just underfed." It was a radical thought, that maybe healing wouldn't come from surgery or doctors or devices, but from her plate. From sunshine and salmon, from spinach and sweet potatoes, from the quiet, daily choice to nourish rather than neglect. She closed her journal, slid her glasses onto the nightstand, and lay back in bed. Her legs ached, but this time she wasn't afraid of the pain. She was curious. Chapter 1, Sunlight Within, the Power of Vitamin D. The sun was out, but Eleanor's curtains were closed. She had gotten used to the dimness, the safety of shadows. Her skin hadn't felt real sunlight in weeks, maybe longer. The only time she stepped outside was to fetch the mail, and even then she wore a wide-brimmed hat and hurried back inside. But that day, her doctor's words echoed in her ears. "You're low on vitamin D, Eleanor, severely low. That might explain your weak legs." It felt like a slap at first. Vitamin D? Wasn't that just for bones? Apparently not. Her doctor had explained it in simple terms. Without enough vitamin D, your body can't absorb calcium. And without calcium, muscles shrink, bones weaken, and balance disappears. It was more than a deficiency, it was a signal. Her body wasn't just aging, it was underpowered. Eleanor sat in her kitchen with her grocery list open, determined to find food that could restore what her legs had lost. She scribbled at the top: salmon, egg yolks, fortified milk, mushrooms. She remembered her grandmother baking salmon every Sunday. her mother adding eggs to every breakfast, a time when food was simple and whole. Somewhere along the way, convenience had replaced nourishment. Not anymore. That afternoon she walked to the store, slowly, cautiously using her cane. Every step felt like resistance training, but it was her first conscious step toward healing. She bought a fresh fillet of salmon, a dozen brown eggs, and a carton of vitamin D fortified milk. She also grabbed a small pack of button mushrooms, not her favorite, but something told her to give them a second chance. That night, she seasoned the salmon with lemon and rosemary, just like her grandmother used to. The kitchen filled with the familiar scent of care, of cooking with purpose. She sat by the window as she ate, letting the evening sun touch her face. And for the first time in weeks, she didn't feel old. She felt alive. Days turned into weeks. Her meals became rituals. Scrambled eggs with mushrooms and whole grain toast. Baked salmon with spinach sautéed in olive oil. A warm glass of milk before bed. And little by little, Eleanor began to change. The tremble in her knees when standing grew fainter. Her steps, though still careful, had more push to them. When she caught her reflection in the mirror, she didn't just see wrinkles and white hair. She saw a woman rebuilding herself from the inside out. One morning, a neighbor named Ruth knocked on her door. "I haven't seen you in a while," Ruth said. "I thought maybe you were ill." Eleanor smiled, holding her glass of milk. "Quite the opposite. I've been healing." Ruth looked puzzled. "How?" "Food," Eleanor replied, "and sunshine." After Ruth left, Eleanor walked to the park, something she hadn't done alone in months. The sidewalk felt solid beneath her feet. Her calves burned a little, but it was the kind of burn she welcomed now. It meant her muscles were working, not wasting. She paused beneath a tree where the light filtered through like gold. She tilted her face to the sun, closed her eyes, and stood there, soaking it in. Not just the warmth, not just the vitamin D, but the permission to begin again. She had read that vitamin D could help reduce falls in older adults, strengthen bones, and restore lost muscle fibers. But no study could describe the feeling of standing tall without fear. Eleanor now knew what sunlight could do, not just on her skin, but in her spirit. And she wasn't done yet. Chapter 2. Signals and Strength. The Secret of Vitamin B12. Eleanor sat in her favorite chair, rubbing her ankles. She had just returned from her short afternoon walk, 3 blocks down and back, but something felt off. Not the usual muscle soreness. This was different. Her legs were there, but they didn't feel like hers. They tingled strangely, like 1,000 tiny pins under the skin. Her feet felt numb, detached, as if her brain had sent a message that got lost on the way. It wasn't pain, it was distance, and it terrified her. The next morning, Eleanor called her doctor. "I know I'm stronger," she said, "but something's not right. It's like my legs are asleep even when I'm awake." The doctor listened carefully, then ordered blood tests. The results came in the next day. The problem had a name: vitamin B12 deficiency. Eleanor blinked. "I've never even heard of that." Her doctor explained, "B12 is critical for your nervous system. It helps transmit signals between your brain and muscles. Without enough B12, your legs might work, but they won't feel right. That numbness, the tingling, that's your nerves crying for help." She nodded slowly. "So it's not just my muscles?" "No," the doctor said. "It's the connection to them." Back home, Eleanor sat down with her journal again. "I've been rebuilding my muscles, but I forgot the wires." She learned that many seniors struggle to absorb vitamin B12, even if they eat well. The stomach loses the ability to release a protein called intrinsic factor, which is needed to absorb B12 from food. But that didn't mean she was helpless. She had 2 choices: supplements or food. And Eleanor wanted to try food first. She made a new grocery list. Lean meats, chicken, beef, fish, especially salmon and trout. Eggs, whole eggs, yolks included. Dairy, yogurt, cheese, milk. She already had eggs and milk from her vitamin D regimen. Now she added more protein, more variety. Her first B12-focused meal was simple: grilled chicken breast, a side of steamed broccoli, and a cup of Greek yogurt with berries. The flavors were comforting. The idea that she was nourishing her nerves, not just her body, made every bite meaningful. After a week, she felt subtle changes. The tingling didn't disappear overnight, but it faded. Her feet felt more present when they touched the floor in the morning. Her balance improved. When she closed her eyes and stood still, she didn't wobble as much. More importantly, she began to trust her legs again. One afternoon, Eleanor visited her granddaughter Lily. They sat in the sunroom sipping herbal tea. Lily asked how her new health journey was going. "I think I'm finally listening to what my body's been trying to say," Eleanor said. Lily smiled. "And what's it saying now?" "It's saying, thanks for plugging me back in." They both laughed. A few days later, Eleanor boiled 2 eggs for breakfast, sliced an avocado, and added a few strips of grilled turkey breast. It wasn't fancy, but it was fuel. Fuel for her nerves, fuel for her legs. She walked to the park that morning without her cane. She didn't rush. She didn't need to. Every step felt connected, grounded. Like her body and her brain were finally speaking the same language again. She paused near a patch of wildflowers and thought, "I'm not just feeding my muscles anymore. I'm feeding my electricity." And oh, how she glowed. Chapter 3. Healing from Within. The role of vitamin C. The sky was gray, and so was Eleanor's mood. She hadn't walked much that week, not because of pain, but because she simply felt drained. Her legs, though stronger and steadier, seemed slower to recover now after even the shortest walk. A short trip to the pharmacy left her fatigued. Her calves felt heavy, as if dragging shadows behind them. One morning, she sat at the kitchen table, peeling an orange. She hadn't planned to eat fruit that day, but something about the scent, the brightness, the tang, it called to her. And as she bit into the first juicy segment, she felt something unexpected. Relief. It wasn't physical, it was deeper, like a quiet message to her cells. Later that day, while reading a health blog for seniors, she came across an article titled, "Vitamin C, Your Muscles' Invisible Armor." She learned that vitamin C wasn't just for colds. It played a vital role in muscle repair, collagen production, and protecting tissues from inflammation and oxidative stress. Collagen. That word lit something in her memory. Her doctor had mentioned it once. Collagen is the glue that holds your muscles together. Without it, recovery slows and fatigue lingers. Eleanor looked down at her orange peel. Maybe her body had known what she needed before she did. She made a list of vitamin C-rich foods: oranges, grapefruit, strawberries, bell peppers, broccoli, kiwi. She smiled. It was like bringing color back to her plate and to her life. The next morning, she sliced strawberries into her yogurt. For lunch, she roasted bell peppers with olive oil and garlic. At dinner, she added steamed broccoli beside her grilled chicken. The effect wasn't instant, but it was certain. Within days, her energy returned. The tightness in her legs eased more quickly after activity. Her muscles didn't ache into the evening. She felt recovered, not just rested. And it gave her courage. She decided to try something she hadn't done in over a year: walk to the local library alone. It was only half a mile, but it felt like a marathon in her heart. She packed her bag with a water bottle, a tangerine, and a small umbrella, just in case. Then she set out, steady and slow. The wind was gentle, the sidewalk firm. Her legs moved with surprising grace, each step cushioned by confidence she hadn't felt in months. When she arrived at the library steps, she paused, took a deep breath, and climbed them. Without holding the rail, inside, the librarian looked up. "Eleanor, it's been so long." Eleanor smiled. "I've been healing." That evening, she sat by her window with a cup of warm tea and a slice of grapefruit. She looked at her legs, not with pity, but with pride. They were learning to recover, because she was learning to care. Chapter 4. Gentle Protection. How Vitamin E Supports Aging Muscles. Eleanor noticed it one morning while brushing her hair. Her arms didn't ache. Not much, at least. The heaviness that used to linger after lifting a skillet or carrying groceries had softened. But she still felt something. Not quite pain, more like weariness. a subtle fatigue in her muscles, like they were doing their job but just barely. She was healing, she knew that, but the process felt slow, as if her body needed a final push to truly bounce back. Then, as if by fate, a headline in her senior wellness newsletter caught her eye. Vitamin E, the forgotten ally in muscle health. She clicked. The article described vitamin E as a powerful antioxidant, guarding muscles from the daily wear and tear of aging. It protected cells, improved muscle function, and helped slow muscle decline, especially in older adults. It wasn't about gaining bulk or energy, it was about protecting the progress she had already made. The article listed simple sources: almonds, sunflower seeds, spinach, avocado, olive oil. She smiled. She already had most of those in her kitchen. For lunch, she made a spinach salad with sliced avocado and a sprinkle of sunflower seeds. It was crisp, clean, and delicious. That night, she snacked on almonds instead of cookies. She drizzled olive oil over roasted carrots. It was a quiet shift, no fanfare. But something felt different. The next morning, after watering her plants, she noticed her arms didn't feel tired at all. Her shoulders didn't sag, her thighs didn't tremble on the stairs. A week later, her friend Ruth stopped by. "You're glowing," Ruth said. "What's your secret now?" Eleanor laughed. "A handful of almonds and a lot of leafy greens." What changed wasn't just physical, it was mental. Vitamin E didn't make her faster, it made her recover better. She no longer feared she'd lose what she'd gained. Her body felt supported, not pushed, but gently guarded. And that gave her peace. One evening, she stood by her window with a small dish of sunflower seeds in her hand. She looked down at her legs, then out at the fading sky. She whispered softly, "We're still here, and we're still strong." And for the first time, she believed it with every cell in her body. Chapter 5. The Bone Connection. Calcium and the Foundation of Movement. It happened while Eleanor was reaching for a flower pot. She didn't fall. Not exactly, but she lost her balance just enough to grab the edge of the table and sit down, her heart pounding. It frightened her more than the cramps or tingling ever had. Because in that moment, she realized something simple but profound. If her bones were weak, one fall could change everything. That afternoon, she pulled out the paper her doctor had given her weeks ago. At the bottom of the list, under vitamins and electrolytes, was a word she hadn't paid enough attention to until now: calcium. She had always thought of it as something for young kids and old bones, but now, with her legs stronger and nerves more stable, she realized calcium wasn't just about preventing breaks. It was about giving her body a stable foundation to move. She started small. A glass of warm milk with cinnamon before bed. A slice of cheddar with apple slices for lunch. A cup of plain yogurt topped with strawberries. She also learned that plant-based calcium mattered too. So she added tofu to her dinners, slightly fried with garlic and soy sauce. She stirred white beans into her soup. And sometimes she treated herself to a little bowl of chia pudding made with almond milk and vanilla. Not everything was perfect. Her stomach didn't love too much dairy, but she found balance. A little here, a little there. 2 weeks later, she stood from her chair without using the armrest. She noticed it. Her posture felt taller, her knees more stable, her ankles more sure. She didn't feel like she would collapse anymore. She felt rooted. At the grocery store, she picked up a carton of tofu with confidence. A young man bagging her groceries offered to help. Eleanor smiled and said, "Thank you, but I've got strong bones now." They both laughed. That evening, she took a slow walk around the block. When she returned home, she opened her journal and wrote, "I'm not fragile. I'm building my frame from the inside out." And somehow that made her braver than she'd been in years. Chapter 6. Flow and Flex. Magnesium and Potassium in Motion. It was 2:13 a.m. when the cramp struck. Sharp, sudden, her calf locked like iron. Eleanor gasped and reached for the nightstand, heart racing, breath tight. The pain passed after a minute, but the fear stayed. She hadn't felt that in weeks. The next morning she searched. Leg cramps in older adults. She'd expected the usual: stretch more, drink water. But two words stood out: magnesium, potassium. She had been so focused on vitamins, on bones, on nerves, she had forgotten the minerals that made movement smooth and strong. Magnesium helped muscles relax. Potassium kept nerve signals steady. Both worked silently behind the scenes, but when they were missing, the body let her know. She made another small shift. She added a banana to her breakfast. She stirred spinach into her omelets. She kept a little bag of cashews and almonds by her reading chair. For dinner, she roasted sweet potatoes rich in potassium and comfort. And each night before bed, she sipped warm water with a splash of coconut water, just enough to restore her electrolytes. The difference was quiet but powerful. The cramps faded. The twitches disappeared. Her legs felt fluid again, like gears moving without friction. She didn't need science to tell her it was working. Her body told her. Every calm night, every easy step. And one sunny afternoon, as she danced slowly in her living room to her favorite old song, she whispered, "I'm not just walking again. I'm flowing." Thank you for listening. Dear friends, if you've come this far, thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Eleanor's story may be fictional, but her journey is real. It reflects the quiet battles many older adults face every day. The slow fading of strength, the fear of falling, the question of whether it's too late to feel whole again. But this story is also a message of hope. With small, intentional changes, adding vitamins, minerals, and kindness back into your meals, you can rebuild not only your legs, but your confidence, your independence, and your joy. So here's what I ask you. Leave a comment below. Tell us what part of Eleanor's story spoke to you. Have you experienced something similar? What will you add to your plate tomorrow? If this video helped you, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that might change your life or someone else's. Until next time, stay strong, stay kind to yourself, and we'll see you in the next video.